Hi guys, welcome to the Brethren. My name is Renee and this is Fictional Crafts, where I am sharing my fibre, my fiction, and maybe some journaling. Maybe. Um so hi. Kind of a quarter check-in. My children are still awake. They should be asleep. It is April 19th, Sunday night, and I tried to do some vlogging this weekend, which didn't work. My camera's now just decided it's not going to connect to my computer for some reason, which means I can't use my good microphone. I can't even use my Bluetooth microphone because I don't have the attachment to go into the camera. So this is the audio we have to live with if I'm going to record something. And considering I've had so much trouble recording anything lately, I'm going with it. Because I'm fucking done, okay? So, a little bit of extra part to my intro, fibre, fiction, and journaling. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see how that bit goes. I couldn't find an F word for it, although there are a few words that start with F that I certainly can use with abandon. Although there is a good F word that I could use with abandon, but I don't think the YouTube algorithm would like that very much. So the idea is, I have been trying to vlog this year. I've hated everything I've recorded. Normal for me. I also have 2 young kids, which I'm sort of trying to keep off the videos. So vlogging doesn't really work because I can't vlog my life because they are my life. Sort of bit hard. So I do have some clips that I've recorded over the last few days. If they look good, I might add them to the end of this video, but I've sort of come to a bit of a decision that even as much as I love vlogging and sharing my journey, like through a week of my reading, my writing, and my knitting and my spinning, I just can't really do that at the moment. So I'm going to have to default back to the good old-fashioned podcast. Hello, Arwen. What are you doing? We have been graced with the presence of a kitty cat. Oh, off she goes. She's worried I'm going to pick her up. You're not in a huggy mood, are you? Anyway, I just realised how bright my background is, and can I reach my light fixes? No, I can't reach them. I'm discombobulated tonight. What I thought was going to be a nice, clean video has ended up a nightmare already, and we're just starting. Story of my life. If there's going to be chaos, there's going to be chaos. Sorry. If there can be chaos, there's going to be chaos. See, I'm that tired, I'm actually just fucking up my words as well. So that does happen. I fuck up my words royally if I'm extremely tired or stressed or... Yeah, well, that's pretty much me at the moment. And trying to get my camera working really just stressed me out right then. So I'm still coming down from that. I spent a good half hour chasing the kids around the house as the tickle monster, so I'm still a bit flushed from that. But I did want to get on and record this so I could get it out as sort of like the podcast 0 of the next maybe year and a half whilst I sort my fucking shit out. So the idea is fibre. I spin, I knit, and I do crochet. I don't have my crochet project out. I spin, I knit, I crochet. I would love to get into weaving, but I can't quite afford that at the moment. I would also really love to try nail binding. I believe it's called, which is the old, real ancient knot making precursor to spinning, precursor to knitting, I guess. Yes, I'm having a wine. We take our little wins when we can. Yeah, so I want to sort of just like document my crafts. I do have other crafts that I do, so they might crop up from time to time. I've got all the, I just packed everything away for my sewing. I just packed all my resin stuff away because I just don't have the time at the moment, but they do exist in this house, so they might show up eventually. But at the moment I really am focusing on my fibre crafts, in particular spinning, and then obviously I need to do something with that yarn, which is usually spinning, which is usually knitting or crochet. So at the moment I'll just go through my current works in progress, because I literally just spent this weekend finishing up a shit ton of stuff. I had socks for my daughter that I hadn't woven in the ends. I had a cowl that I hadn't woven in the end. No, I hadn't stitched it together or woven in the ends. So I just got all that done. If you watch my lives, I actually had a live last night with Shah, and I was actually working on the cowl whilst we chatted. We do the live. We try to do it every Saturday night. It's just a craft along, chat along. We just tend to gas bag about current bullshit that's happening in the world. I mean, the latest topics of discussion for us, because we are also in the writing sphere and the author stuff, has been all the sort of controversy around, is it Mia Ballard's Shy Girl, the AI stuff there, and things like that. Like, we'll just have a chat. I mean, you're always welcome to join us. Pop in the chat if you want to ask something, and we just have a ball. Yeah, I've been finishing up a lot of things because I've been trying to clean up in here. This little corner of the world gets extremely full and chockers because it becomes my dumping ground. I've got a writer's bureau, which is just to the side, which you will see in some of the videos that I have, some of the clips that I have. And I'm trying to make it my sort of craft station. So I'm trying to keep all my yarn in the storage at the bottom, and then use the writer's bureau, the desk area. I'm hoping to sort of use that for book binding or jewellery making, things like that, so I can just sort of leave it out but fold it away, if that makes sense. So it's just out of the way if I haven't finished a project. But I'm not there yet because down here, I've still got all my shit down here that I've got to sort through, which I pulled out of the writer's bureau because it was a dumpster fire. And yeah, so I'm working on it. I'm not perfect. Okay. I do have my phone on because if my husband calls me, I have to be able to answer it. So if it dings or pings, or if you hear the Hunger Games whistle, it's just my phone. I have to have fun. So I'll go through like current projects that I've got, that I've been working on. I'm going to show you my extremely large pile of what should I call? Well, some of it is hand spun, some of it's just hand plied. I'll explain that a bit when I get to them. And the rest of it is reclaimed. So I had three shawls, of which the yarn is stunning. I don't buy superwash yarn anymore, but these three shawls I just could not part with because of the yarn that was in them. They're all, I'll explain them all when I get to them, but I haven't been wearing those shawls. And I've been thinking about repurposing that yarn for some time, And this weekend, I finally fucking did it. I finally just sat my ass down, got out my nitty notty, and ignored the pain in my wrist. I just did it. So I do have to wash them still, so they're still technically works in progress because they've all got to be washed. But I will go through those in a bit. I've got a pile of books that I just wanted to sort of talk about. Some that I am reading. I would have to say none that I'm reading. Because the book I was reading, I have literally decided to DNF about 10 minutes ago before I started recording. And this is sort of like the pile of a couple of books that I've recently picked up that are interesting to me, and I can't wait to read them. And the next book I want to start reading, and then a couple of other books that are sort of on my radar to get to reading in the next maybe month or two. I can talk a little bit about my book. I am currently editing my second book that I am planning to independently publish probably towards the end of this year. And I'm just really struggling to edit it at the moment, so I can, if you're interested, I can go a bit more further in depth to that, but I'll just discuss a little bit about where I am with it, what I'm doing with it. And then the reason I tacked journaling on the end is because I sort of wanted to just discuss my current setup. I did a video about my setup, I think it was like last year, and it's the same setup. So, but if you watch that, you'll probably want to skip this bit. But I also sort of want to discuss a little bit about what's not quite working for me and sort of the goals I have in the next maybe couple of months to figure out what I want to do there. So yeah, that's sort of what I want to talk about. So if that interests you, I hope you stick around, even though this lighting is atrocious and I've got nowhere to fix it. Let me try one thing. It kind of helped a little. It's still really dark. I've got all the lights off because it actually sounds like they've gone to bed. I'm trying to get my kids to go to sleep. So if I turned on like the big light in here, it would attract them like moths to a flame. I love them dearly, but they're really struggling to go to bed at a decent hour at the moment. School starts back tomorrow for us. We've had 2 weeks holidays, so my son is particularly having issues get to sleep. We've had all the discussions, we've had all the cuddles, we've had all the tickles. He's just got to calm down now. But anyways, let's get into it, and yeah, let's see what we chat about. If you can't half tell, I have not scripted anything, so we might fucking go in circles. Editing Renee's going to hate me. So the biggest thing I have knitted so far this year is this thing. So you're not going to be able to see it because it's so big. This is almost 100% hand spun yarn. It is a huge ass shawl. It's more like a blanket than a shawl with a hood. And it smells so sheepy. It smells glorious. Oh, I love this thing. I am looking forward to using this in winter when I'm streaming. It is, it took me a long time. I've got probably 2.5, maybe 3 kilos worth of yarn in this monstrosity. So the base yarn, the white with the it's called the brown bits in it are called linen flake, but it is actually 2 1 kilo batches of ready spin from Bendigo Woolen Mills, which I spun individually and then plied together in a 2-ply. And I had, obviously had uneven quantities. And then what I did was this green is Knit Picks. The one with silk in it. I'm pretty sure the colour's like Kenya. Oh, what's it called? It's their silk one. It's the one with silk in it. And I just applied some leftover linen fleck with the green. And then the brown is a couple. Oh no, hang on. Let's talk about the pink. The pink is leftover yarn from a beanie I made for my daughter, and the yarn is a Sydney yarn dyer, I think. If I can find her name, I'll put it below if I can find her name. I bought the yarn secondhand. I bought a white one and a pink one, and I knitted my daughter a unicorn beanie. It was my first ever colour work. It's too tight for her to wear, but she loves it, so she won't let me do anything with it. And that was just plied with extra linen fleck. And then there's this slightly grey, you won't be able to see it because it's too far away, it's like literally one row, where I had leftover mohair, which is Circus Tonic Handmade's Alto Cumulus colour. And I just held that like 3 double in with a row of excess linen fleck. And the brown is what I call Sharflock. So this brown is my first ever fleece. I was gifted the fleece. I was gifted the whole fleece by my friend Shah. I absolutely butchered cleaning the fleece. I've probably lost 3/4 of what I could have used. I still ended up with kilos of yarn. And then I also screwed up washing it because I left some of it in a bag and it wasn't quite dry properly, so I ended up losing that bit. But what I did have has made an absolutely stunning border. I washed, hand combed because the staples were so long I could not card it. It was longer than the staples were probably longer than my carding board. And I also the same yarn, but me and the kids did a dyeing experiment. I used food dyes to dye yarn, and we broke up a whole heap of different bits of the yarn. We dyed it all different colours, and then I did actually attempt to card it. I fucked that up. I lost so much fibre in that. I learned a lot using this fleece. I mean, I have to thank Shah horrendously for that. It was a beautiful gift. I've loved it. I have to stay on her good side so I can get some more fleece. It's a merino cross. I don't know anything more than that. This is fucking hot. The only thing I have left to do with this is sewing the ends, which I was going to do this weekend, and I just haven't gotten around to it because it was the last one on my list because it's so big, and I just didn't want to be sitting there trying to wield this. But I'm not sure if so you're not going to see the whole entirety of it, but yeah, it's a huge triangle shawl. The actual pattern is based off, I gotta get this off, it's too hot. Okay. Whew. Okay. The pattern itself is, oh, that was hot. Whew. I should have got this up before I started recording, but as I said, I had a bit of a moment when my camera stopped talking to my computer, which I have to figure out because I use this camera as my streaming camera. They're called stepping stones, I think. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. Oh, river stones. library. No, I've added it to my library. I'll have to put it below. I can't seem to find it in my library. I'm sure it was called like Stepping Stones or River Stones or something. It's a obviously a shawl with a hood, and it's not really that much. Not really that much else to it. Like, I use the pattern as a basis. I ignored, there was some beautiful mosaic colour work in the pattern, and I would like to go back and actually knit the pattern properly. But I think from memory it was for fingering weight yarn. Maybe DK weight yarn, and I was working with worsted weight at the. I was working with thick yarn, so worsted, possibly even Aran rate in some areas. So I really just used it as like a math thing to like figure out the hood and to figure out, and obviously it's a triangular shawl, and I just went from there. But yeah, it was really fun. It's going to be so warm. So my problem at the moment is I'm 45, and I know I'm getting close to perimenopause. I've been struggling the last couple of months with some health issues, with some ongoing problems that I've had for years that are just flaring up badly, so I know it's coming. And at the moment, and ever since my kids were born, I really struggled to have jumpers. I just get too hot, particularly like around my shoulders. So a nice big heavy shawl like that I can wrap around and stay warm without having that sensory problem of like underarm and tightness that I don't like, which is probably why I do not and have not really knitted any jumpers. I've knitted a couple of jumpers, and I've hated every single one of them and ended up giving them away purely because of those reasons. I get real sensory issues around my chest, upper chest, shoulders, all that sort of stuff. So you'll actually see, if I manage to keep up with these podcasts, you will see me. What I'm planning to knit is, I think there's one called Poncho to Go by Katie Rempe, capes, and there's also, I've got an idea for one which is based off a shawl cardigan thing that I got from Temu. I've had the idea in my head for a while, and I saw the pattern, I saw the cheap and nasty Temu version, and I thought, well, I'll buy it so I can see if I like the design, and then I can make a nice version of it using that as a template. I love it. My daughter loves it. She keeps stealing it. So I'm going to make her one too. More her size, more appropriate to her size. So yeah, so I've got a lot of like big sort of big shawlette blankety things sort of in my head. Hoods. I love a hood. I'm not a hoodie wearer. I'm not a beanie wearer. I never have been. I don't like the feel of them on my head, but I do like a hood, because the hood like just sits here and it keeps my ears stay warm, but they're not pressed in. So can we see a theme? But yes. So that is I'm sure it's the stepping stones. I know I kept the pattern because I want to do it properly. I've got it in here. No, that's mixed. Okay, no, I don't. But yes, so that just needs to be ends woven in and it'll be done. I might even try to do that tonight after I finish recording. I probably won't get them all done in one hit. I'll probably have to do them over the next few days, but it'll get done. It'll then be put aside and be ready for the freezing depths of winter. which are already on their way because it's getting fucking cold already at night here. Oh, I am in Melbourne, Australia, so I'm in autumn. So if I'm talking about winter, I'm talking about things getting colder, that is why. Unfortunately, we don't get snow over Christmas. We get blistering hot, melting summer, where being able to park your car under a tree means that it's the best parking lot in the car park, even if it's 3Ks from the entrance to the shopping centre. Okay, next project. So this is sort of multiple versions of all the same project. So this is the, what is it called? Sorry, my wrist is really sore today. I've done a little bit too much in the way of cleaning, and it happens. I'm actually waiting to be assessed to get the appointment for carpal tunnel, just to see if it is carpal tunnel that's doing it to me. So, joy. So this is called the Curiosity Hat by Tori Yu. And I've got 3 versions planned at the moment. Yes, Arwen. Hello, darling. So 2 for my son, 1 for my daughter, and I do want to get yarn for a second one for my daughter, so they'll have 2 each. That yarn, I already know what I want, but I'm trying to find out if the vendor, Ren and Ollie, is going to be at my favourite market this year, because if they're not, I'm just going to buy it online. But if they are, I want to buy it from them at the market, because it's the only market I go to every year. It's a yarn market in Coburg, Town Hall. It used to be run by the Hand Spinners Guild of Melbourne, but I don't know if it still is. I don't even know if it's running this year. I've got to find out. But I try to go every year. It's my Mother's Day gift. My husband comes with me. He looks after the kids, and they get to choose some yarn for socks each, and then I get to walk around and just inhale yarn fumes and buy far too much fibre from Mitchell Bunny and buy fibre from everywhere else. Last year I fell in love with Ethereal Medusa's fibre. I still haven't spun that yet. But I was in the middle of working on the Sharflock, and I shouldn't have bought more fibre last year, but I did. So yes, so this is the Curiosity Hat, and I'm about 2/3 of the way through this section. So you're knitting this, and then you knit the crown, and then you come back. This is how I understand it, and you knit another crown, and then pop it inside, and then you'll have one bit, one side that's seed stitch, one side that's plain, and it's just, I just realised I missed a stitch there. Oops. Oh well, I'm not going back to fix it. My son doesn't care. He wanted blue and gold. Yarns. Okay, what yarns am I planning? So I'm going to do a blue and gold and a red and gold for him. And then I'm going to do a purple and gold for my daughter. And then I've got the colours I want to get from Ren and Ollie. But I'll worry about them down the track. At the moment, I'm just trying to do these 3. I want to try to get them done before it starts getting too cold. These are the only one. This is the only knitty project I have on the needles at the moment, which means I can 100% focus on it. I do need to find a slightly bigger bag than my sock bag. So this is normally my sock bag. I usually just carry this in my handbag everywhere I go. And this was done by the Littlest Stitch. I do not know if she is still making bags, but I got this gorgeous one, single skein project size, and I got a bigger one but that's more like a 4 or 5 skein size bag, so I need something in the middle, and the same thing. But I pretty much just have a small project in this, and it stays in my handbag. And if I need a break during work, or if I'm having a very anxious day during work, I've just got something I can do a few stitches on. If I'm waiting at my many appointments I have to go to for my kids, I will pull this out and do a few stitches. Or if I'm sitting in the appointment whilst my son is having all of his therapies, I have something to do to keep my hands busy. So, but I tried to put these two in earlier today, and I actually ended up stuffing them up and making them a bit messy because they just don't quite fit in that. So I do have to dig around and find another bag. I've actually got most of my knitted bags are in there, so my knitting bags are in there, so I might just dig through there and have a look. But yarns. So I do have the yarn labels down here, except for that one, because that one technically doesn't have a yarn label. I will get to it in a minute. So what have we got here? Oh, half-baked hand-dyed. They are not in here. They are the sock yarns that I just finished knitting socks. I don't generally use superwash yarn anymore at all. But as I said, every year at the Coburg Yarn Festival, I've been letting my kids pick sock yarns, and every time so far they have picked half-baked hand-dyed self-striping sock yarn, and it is the only time I will purposely buy superwash yarn now, or nylon contented yarn now. I mean, I absolutely adored when I first started knitting, what was her called? Dyed by Hand as well. Her sock yarns, fantastic, fan-fucking-tastic yarns if you like knitting socks. So if I'm thinking I might point my daughter to her this time around if she's there. She wasn't there last year, because she's got sort of more colours that my daughter might like. When half-baked hand-dyed yarns, thick stripes, my son loves rainbows, and yes, anyway. Here it is, that one. Okay, that's this one. Oh, this is the dyer of the pink that was in my big blanket shawl. It's called Glenhaven Knits, and her yarn technically said it was machine wash, but she sort of was a bit, when I asked her if it was super wash, she sort of said not really. But I don't know if she was understanding if I was asking about the treatment, not necessarily the function of washing in a machine, because I just trying to do my bit for environment. So this is the gold, which is Gold Rush, and it's 100% marine, 100% Australian extra fine merino, 100 grams, 400 meters, and it does say machine washable, but she sort of went, it's not really super wash, so I'm not sure what the treatment is on it. It doesn't feel like super wash. I mean, this is the problem I have with Bendigo Woolen Mills too. All of their yarns say machine washable, but they're not called super wash, so I don't really know what the treatment is that they're putting on them. Anyway, and then the blue I bought at the Coburg Market last year, and that is actually come a long way, because that was the what's he called? Hedgehog Fibres. Hedgehog Fibres, 100% merino wool, made in Ireland, 425 meters per 100 grams, and I bought this at the Coburg Market. I was not expecting to find a seller selling hedgehog fibres, but it was the perfect blue, and it was close enough in meterage gauge for it to work in this project, so I grabbed it. And then the red. This red is very special. So So this red does have a label, but not a proper label. I do not know if Sarah is going to die again ever. But when Sarah from Sarah Taylor Handmade, she's up in Queensland. She was starting a business up a few years ago, locally sourced yarn as much as she could. I don't think this one was locally sourced simply because of like when she first started out, she was just grabbing non-superwash yarns wherever she could find them. So I think this one was actually from an overseas supplier. I'll have to double check with her. This is 100 grams, 400 meters, 100% merino, non-superwash, and it's an unnamed red. And my son used to love sitting down with me on the weekends and watching her podcast when she was able to put one up. And when she did her first shop, I bought some yarn from her and she sent this along for him. And I've held on to it for a couple of years because I didn't want to make something out of it that he would grow out of, so, or damage, like mitts or socks or anything like that. But I think a beanie, and I'm making these beanies all quite a good size, so I reckon he could have this for some years. And if he looks after it, I'll be able to put it away, and maybe if he decides to have kids, he could maybe hand it down to his children. I'm not trying to populate the world with knits. I am just trying to, I want to knit stuff that we will use, we will wear, and stuff that's going to last a good couple of years. I'm not very sentimental in the fact, like, don't look at my children's memory boxes. I got 2 big black tubs when they were born, and I just sort of put, as each year I sort of go through them and I keep just things that from like that year. They were already full. Anyway, this last yarn is a bit of a different beast. This yarn was not this colour from the shop. This is Tandy. They actually go by Tarn Wood Court now, and this is their Origins range? Originals range? They don't have it written on here because they didn't have the name for it when I bought this. So I bought this in the colour Cider House Red, and it was exactly on me. I had a sample, I saw the colour, I got it knowing exactly what the colour was. I got it with 2 other yarns. I used those yarns, and then this one sat in my stash, just not matching anything else I owned. And so I overdyed it purple. And I've been meaning to make socks out of it for myself for a long time, but when I came across this pattern, I just thought I'm going to have enough of this gold left to make a really nice beanie for my little girl. So that's that. That's sort of like the plan for the next few weeks, is to work on those. I've got to be careful, as I said, I've been having some hand issues and there's a lot of seat stitching, so I've just got to take it slow, be careful, and try not to, I better be careful, I'm running out of space on my thing, on my SD card. So yeah, that's knitting. And then the project I have at the moment for crochet, this thing's getting to be about 2 years old now, and it's a hat out of paper raffia. So I've still got my hook in there. I've got a lot of ponytail on, so it's not really going to fit me very well. But it is a sun hat, and it does fit. I've got to cram it on there because I haven't stretched it properly. But the problem is, I've got another whole thing of paper raffia because I want to make a really wide brim. But this stitch, it's just a single stitch, a single crochet stitch on 3.75? No, 4 mil, on a 4 mil hook. Kills my hands. Absolutely kills my hands. So I can only do a couple of rows at a time. and I'm seriously debating, because you've got to make it tight. Got to be tight, otherwise the brim won't hold up on its own. It's not really holding up very well as it is at the moment because I haven't stretched it out properly. And at the end of it, you do these slip stitches all the way around to tighten everything up and make it work. But my big problem is at the moment is I've got to do the work to get the brim up, and I'm just not sure my hands are up to it. And I really want this. I really want a sun hat, and I wanted it black. But I'm starting to think I might just have to, unfortunately, go the easy route and just buy one and maybe pass this on to someone else, because it hurts my hands too much. Okay. I need to clear out my SD card. So I haven't changed the angle, but I've scooted you up a little bit, and I actually think that's better. Although that means you now can't see my books, but that's okay. Okay, kids are finally asleep. I took the time to check on them. I've moved everything off my camera, so I've got hours of recording time now. I can talk for hours. Hopefully it won't be that long, because editing that is a pain in the ass. So I also packed everything away that I have already talked about, just to give myself some space here. But I wanted to move on to spinning. Spinning and reclaiming. As mentioned earlier, I have been reclaiming some yarn. So yeah. Oh, hello, Arwen. Okay, so what do I start with? I'll start with the reclaimed yarn. So these 5 are the easiest to get out because they're the last ones I put in. I put this down on the floor. Oh, sorry, kitty cat. I didn't realise you were there. Okay, so these 5 yarns are extremely special for me. These were the first ever Mother's Day gift I got. Now, I ordered it and bought them for myself. I was still pregnant with my son that year. Was it 2019? But I saw these from a dyer who was one of my favourite dyers at the time. Unfortunately, she no longer dyes yarn. I just love, I think she was a pot dyer, so she could just get beautiful solid colours. And these are all, let me see if I can remember this, merino silk yak. 60% merino, 20% silk, 20% yak. I'm fairly certain. And if I remember correctly, it was about 366 meters per 100 grams. And the reason I remember that, not only is because that's how my brain works, but because I've been looking up dyers I know that used to have this same base, because I am thinking of buying a 6th colour, and the dyer I'm thinking of buying it from is a lovely, lovely lady. She used to be in Queensland. She's now moved to Western Australia, and her company is called Natural Fibre Arts. Natural Fibre Arts? Yes, Natural Fibre Arts. And she still has this exact base. I looked it up a little bit earlier today. And she's got this beautiful red wine plummy colour that I think will just work as a contrast for these really, really well. And what I want to do is potentially make that stepping stone shawl. I'm calling it stepping stones. It's in my head as stepping stones. But I need like a main colour, because I just don't have enough in these. Now I also too, what I didn't use in this shawl, it was a half and half shawl, half and half wrap, that I knitted these into, what I didn't use in that, I ended up knitting into a scrappy project. So this is all I have left. Once I've washed them, I will weigh them. I reckon they're all going to be at least 80 grams, maybe a bit more, but I know I'm not going to have enough for a decent project. But I think I would really like to pick, like, yeah, that winey, reddy, purpley wine colour as like the main colour, and then these as highlights, I think would be absolutely stunning. And I don't, even though these are a superwash yarn, and I would be buying more superwash yarn to match them, the reason I'm okay with that is because these do mean a lot to me. These were something that I got as my Mother's Day gift. Since then, in years that were not COVID, I have we've gone to the Coburg market, and I've saved up the money. The gift of the gift for Mother's Day is my husband looks after the kids for me, and the kids get to choose their own yarn. But yeah, I am thinking that is the way I want to go with these. Unfortunately, it's something like $36 a skein, so it's not going to happen anytime soon. I just don't have the money at the moment. The other yarn I've reclaimed is actually Natural Fibre Arts yarn. And this one was a bit messier because I'd done the self-drafted triangular shawl. It's stuck. Okay, where is it? There it is. I know there's another one in there. Let me just check to make sure there's no more. And I interspersed the colours and cut things up, so I do have a lot of little nuggets here. But this was a yarn. This was merino bamboo. So I am going off the cuff with this. I'm pretty sure it was 80% merino, superwash merino, 20% bamboo. I'm fairly certain. I'm thinking I might email her and ask her. She doesn't have this. The reason I was looking her up is because I wanted to know if she still had this base, which she does not have anymore. Same deal. What I didn't use in this, I knitted up into a scrappy project. So what I've got is what I've got. So I might have to maybe source somewhere a purple, or a purple and a pink would actually work really well to make it a 5-colour shawl. I like 3 and 5 colours. I mean, I can get away with a 6-colour for the yak because it's sort of going to be a base colour and they're going to be like the stars of the show. But I do like in general my 3s and my 5s. So I'm going to have to sort of do a bit of research. I might message her, see if she remembers the base. She might be able to tell me where she got it from. I mean, I've got no problem buying a couple of undyed skeins myself and just dyeing a colour to match. I have done that in the past, but yeah, so I got these. I think it was this yarn. She put this yarn up on Instagram, and I messaged her and I asked her if she could take the colours from this yarn and make a more variegated version, and then obviously do a charcoal to go with it. So my original intent for this yarn was to actually knit the Oracle Shawl by Kirsten. Was it Kirsten or Kristen? But I never got around to it, and I ended up just doing a self-drafted pattern. And I loved the shawl. It was very pretty, but the way I sit, I got back problems, but the way I sit, shawls don't really stay on my shoulders very well. Proper triangle shawls don't really stay on my shoulders very well. So I'm trying to figure out the best way around that, and I kind of just wanted to reknit this into something that was a bit more appropriate for my body structure. So that's those. And then the last yarn I've reclaimed, I'm going to show you with some spinning. So the spinning part of this adventure is actually my current project, which I pulled down and is sitting here. I've got four bits and a floof, 4 braids left. Now I split I split it as evenly as I could. I didn't really weigh it. It was originally 890 grams of rose grey Hyakea, and Siri alpaca blend 60/40, and it was a top, and it was done by these guys, Australian Alpaca Creations. And I bought this secondhand on Facebook Marketplace. Absolutely stunning fibre. It is alpaca. It's 100% alpaca from what I understand. And it's beautiful to spin. But what I split it up evenly, not so much weight wise, because I'm not plying it, I'm spinning it single ply. This could be a disaster in the making, but I'm testing myself to spin single ply. And so far I've done four nuggets. I mean, look at that. It's just so floppy. I haven't washed these, so they're not set yet. But the reason I'm spinning these single ply is I want to pair these with what kickstarted everything about reclaiming the yarn, with these. In particular, this yarn. So this yarn is extremely special to me. This is Circus Tonic Handmade. 100% superwash merino, single ply, fingering weight yarn, or 4-ply in Australia, and the colourway was zebrafinch, and zebrafinch is my favourite Australian bird. They're these cute little finches, and I used to own I used to have an aviary at home when I lived with my parents, and I had a whole flock of zebra finches, and they were my favourite bird, full stop. So I want to pair, I want to use this as like the basis of a cardigan shawl, so a square sort of shaped shawl, 2 panels in the front, 1 panel at the back, possibly a hoodie if I have enough yarn. It's very similar to, as I said, I bought like a Temu version to see if it was comfortable to wear, and it has its issues, and I'm in an area about putting a seam at the top to make it sit better on the shoulders. I still think I'm going to do that, but I want to use this as the base. I want to use this as the border, and potentially this is a highlight somewhere, maybe as like trim or something. I don't know. There's not much left of this. This is, it's called Skydiver. I know that's the name of the yarn, of the colour. I cannot think of the yarn dyer's name at this time. It's another Australian yarn dyer. They've been around for years, like Ren and Ollie. I just can't think of it. Is it Ren and Ollie? No. Ren and Ollie's one was To the Moon and Back. I bought this at the same time as I bought that yarn. Miss Babs? No. If I remember it, I'll put it down below. I know they still dye yarn, but yes, that is the intent with that. And I just got those 4 to spin. Once they've spun, I have been letting them sit for a few days just because they are single ply. So I'm a bit concerned about them breaking when I'm putting them on the nitty noddy. I did have a few breakages. It was not fun. But essentially at the end of the day, what I want to do is knit an open sort of shawl thing with them, so I'm not too fussed about it. I can split splice. As long as they don't like literally disintegrate when I wash them, it'll be fine. This yarn's a bit different. So this is actually 2 commercial yarns that I overdyed. And I was not 100% happy with my overdying on both yarns. And then one of them is 100% silk. It was, I found the tags for it before. I've shoved them somewhere. 100% silk from, I can't remember the original dye's name, but I bought it secondhand, and when I got it, nothing against the person selling it, they didn't notice this. When you pulled the skein apart, it had been sun damaged, so the areas that were exposed, like this, were paler than the areas that were still wrapped up in the skein. So I overdyed it. And then the other yarn is Fairfield Finn's lace weight yarn, 100% Finn yarn, and beautiful yarn. And I had a bit of a dyeing mishap because I'd always intended on buying it and then like speckling it with blues and purples and a little bit of brown, I think it was. No, it was blue, black, blue and black and a bit of purple. That was my intent, but because I use food dye and not powdered dye, I messed up and I ended up too much yarn, too much blue on it. This section here is just Fairfield Finn's. So I ended up just over dyeing it completely into like a variegated yarn. And then when I was trying to knit with the silk, I realised I didn't like how there was no elasticity to it. I tried like 2 or 3 projects and I was just like, I just don't like that feeling when I'm knitting with it. So I thought I might spin them together, turn them into a fingering weight yarn. So I've got to weigh it, but I've got about, I reckon I've got close to 400 grams here of fingering weight, light fingering weight yarn, 50% silk, 50% Fairfield Finns. And because they were yarns in their own right before I spun them together, they're very nice and tight together. Not tight together, but they're good sturdy yarn. So I am hoping to do something interesting with them. I don't know what yet. If you've got any ideas, let me know. Last skein. This beauty is one of 10 colours. 10 lots of 200 grams. 1 gram used to be 100% white. The other 100 grams used to be all white, ready spin, Bendigo Wool Mills fibre. The other 100 grams was a black-white mix of Bendigo ready spin yarn. Not the best fibre because the black was like second cut size. It's really not pleasant to work with. I made a lot of mistakes spinning this up, but now I know what to do. I have to do the other 9 batches. So they're all dyed. My son wants a rainbow blanket. So last year I knitted, me and my husband, a blue coloured, well actually crocheted a blue blanket. My daughter got a pink and purple and white blanket. My son asked for rainbow, but I could not find any yarn in a reasonable price range. Looking at the time, the Spotlight Pure Wool, it's now Pure Merino. They discontinued Pure Wool. I should have just bought a shit ton of white and then dyed them myself. Instead, what I decided to do was take these 2 kilos of ready spin fibre that I already had in stash, hand dye them with my son, and now I have to spin them all up. And then once I've spun them all up, I have to dye. I think I'm going to crochet them. I want to make him a hooded blanket. I think he would like a hooded blanket. But yes. So yeah, so they're just going to be, sit there now. I've got them in a nice little bag. They're out of the way. And once I finish spinning up that alpaca, I'll give it all, I'll spend like a weekend and just focus on getting them all washed and dried, and hopefully end up with some usable batches of yarn. Wow. I don't know how long I've been talking for, but once again, I have proved I can yap about anything for a fucking long time. Okay, let's move on to fiction. So, I love to read. I also write. I'm not really sure what the evolution of this section will be, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I am not reading a lot at the moment because I am currently editing. So I am editing my book 2 of my Space Pirates adventures. Book 1 is this one here, Descent, which is how Eric Hillar joins the werewolf pirate crew. And the second book, Botany, is a couple of cycles or months after that. The events in that book, it is an adventure with Eric and the Captain Hawk, and how they go and rescue a fellow brethren pirate. I'm really struggling to edit at the moment. I've had editing for me is not a natural thing. I enjoy editing, but it's not natural. So it takes me a while to get into it. I get a good burst of it. I get a lot of pages done, and then I just stop and I don't touch it again for another 3 weeks. And I really have to get in and finish it. So at the moment, I have actually printed it to PDF, the manuscript, and I have it on my Onyx books, which is this thing. And so I've got the Ultra Pro, I think it's called. It's a much bigger Onyx than the standard one you'd see most people get is the e-reader size, which I think I would have enjoyed having, but I like this because this is big enough for me to write shit tons of things in the margins. So I have a lot of PDF'd. I'm on some of those websites where people post their papers, not always the whole paper, sometimes just like an excerpt of the paper for research. They're research sort of sites. So I've got access to a lot of free, research papers. And over the years, I've downloaded a shit ton. I've also over the years bought a shit ton of books from all sorts of places. And I'm trying to put them all together if I can. If they're in a format I can, I have been putting them in one big file, and then cataloguing them and treating them like actual books, because I don't have a lot of space here for physical books. As much as I love a good physical book, I just don't have the space for a lot of them, and I am really trying to get my head around ebooks and reading ebooks and using this, because I can do notations on the books and save the file with the notations on it. Particularly when it comes to academic papers, because I'm very interested in Norse stuff at the moment. It's been a big hyperfixation. One of my characters, the Captain Hawk, her culture I have based on Old Norse, on the Vikings. More Old Norse than actual Vikings. But because I've done that, I've gone down the rabbit hole. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm actually thinking of, and something I might put in here, and as part of the journaling section, I might discuss it in the journaling section. I'll leave that for the journaling section. But I want to do, what do they call it? Private curriculums. Yeah, self-curriculums or private curriculums, something like that. I can't remember what it was called, but I'll discuss that in a bit. So anyway, at the moment I've got it downloaded onto this, printed to PDF with my editor's notes all over it. I've got something like 9 chapters to finish the major edits through, and then usually would do that and then go back and start from scratch and reread it, and then just make minor edits of wording and cleaning up sentences, stuff like that. What I'm doing instead at the moment is, as I'm rereading it, because I've had a bit of a break over the Easter holidays, I'm making notes as I go, and that's why I wanted it on this. So I could just make manual notes, and then I can fix that up, and that should get rid of a pass of the book, which will speed things up a little bit. But yes, that's botany. Hopefully coming out later this year. I really want it out in 26. Don't know if I'm going to make it, but I do want it out in 26. Books. Okay, so at the moment, I was reading The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. I say was. I haven't officially DNF'd it, but I think I've officially DNF'd it. I just don't care. I was doing a vlog on it, a reading vlog. Sorry, let me just... It annoys me when that gets moved. I was doing a reading vlog on Joe Abercrombie's The Devils. And I even talked about it last night in the live. The book doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know, like, from my point of view as a reader, I'm reading this book and I can't tell what this book is about. I can't tell if it's a book about a lost princess being taken to her throne, or if it's a book about getting the gang together so they can go off and have adventures. And you can have both plot lines in the book, but it's got to be about something. And this is the first book in a series. So my question is, at like about a third of the way through it, is what's the book 2 going to follow? Is it going to follow this band of monsters, the devils? Or is it going to follow the princess? Because that tells me what book 1 should be about. And that's not how I should be reading this book. So there's nothing wrong with it. Like, written-wise, it was quite well written. The characters are pretty good. But there's just this underlying story problem that is just really tripping me up. And I might go back and finish it another day. At this point in time, I just don't care. And I was reading it as part of the Huguenots. They do a book club. This was the book club. And they're discussing it right now in the Discord. So I've said my two cents. But now that that's done, I don't really have any pressure to finish it anymore, and I don't think I'm going to. So I think we can call that DNF'd. Not in a bad way. I mean, it was a fair book. It's not for me. At the moment, I might go back and finish it one day. I don't have a problem with leaving books unfinished if they're not doing it for me, if they're not working or scratching that right part of my brain, or scratching the bit of my brain that needs to be scratched. So yes, so we can call that book DNF'd. The only other book I am in the middle of reading is I haven't even really started it. It's this book here. It's called Be More Pirate. Who's it by? I don't even know who it's by. Where's the Sam Conniff Aliandi? And this book disappointed me. Because I wasn't expecting it to be a self-help businessy book. But I think I'm going to persevere and finish reading it. Or at least what I'm going to do is jump to the back of the book and take a photo of his references. Or his note section. Yeah, he's just got a note section. He doesn't really have a reference. But he's got a shit ton of books in here about pirates that he's referenced when he's written this businessy self-help book. Actually, you know what? That's what I'm probably going to do. Just drop the book. But I think I might just go through, because I love pirates. Pirates is another thing I enjoy reading about. So I think what I might do is, I really just don't care about the entrepreneurial nature of things. as I'm getting older, I'm getting more more left thought processes, and I just don't give a shit. I don't even like care. But I do care about the potential of getting some more books about pirates. So, Villains of All Nations, Mutiny, Why We Love Pirates and How They Can Save Us. I know a lot of these books already. I think I've just talked myself into not reading this book. I think I might give it another go. At the very least, I'm going to go through the references in the back, and I'm going to grab a shit ton of books to put on my to track down list and read. But it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be like talking about pirates and how they worked in their world and things. And it does have that in there, so it is kind of doing what it sort of says on the back cover. But it's not, I wasn't expecting it to be so like capitalistic. Anyways, two books I bought recently and I just sort of wanted to share because I'm very excited to read them. This one in particular, so this one's actually going to stay in my read as soon as I possibly can pile. This is The New Perimenopause by Dr. Mary Claire Harver, and I've already got the new Menopause, but I haven't read it yet because I bought it last year, I think, and I hadn't gotten around to it. And then I found out that this one was coming out, and this one's a little bit more relevant for me at the moment, so I want to read this first. But yes, it's just a book about perimenopause. Yeah. And another book I got recently, I saw another YouTuber talking about this book, and I went, I have to have it because I write science fiction. I love science fiction. And this is just a book written by Joe Walton and Ada Palmer. And it's called Trace Elements, Conversations on the Project of Science Fiction and Fantasy. So it's like essays, conversations about science fiction and fantasy. And I just thought it would be really interesting. It just tickled that itch. It tickled the brain in the right place when I heard about it from a YouTuber who also reads a lot of sci-fi and writes sci-fi. So I grabbed it. And then these ones are books that I actually want to read soon. So I've got two ebooks that I want to read very quickly, very soon. Let me bring them up. I am trying to teach myself to reach for my Onyx to read with because I've got so many books. Now the first one is The McMurdo Disaster by Bradley Lejeune, which is dual author team. It's book 4 in the McMurdo series. I don't think they actually have a name for the series. I just call it the McMurdo series. That's book 1, The McMurdo Drift. Indie Pubs, Martin Bradley is a YouTube friend. He hangs out with us some Saturdays when he can, and yeah, fellow indie author. I really do enjoy that series. I've read the first 3. I've got the last. I've got 4 and 5. I think there's another one coming out soon. Not sure, but I need to catch up with them. And the other book I want to read on my tablet here. Tablet e-reader. It is e-ink, but it's a tablet because it's an Android. Is a book called Cold Counsel, Women in Old Norse Literature and Mythology, a collection of essays edited by Sarah M. Anderson with Karen Swenson. So, fiction, non-fiction-y essays. Trying to get into reading essays a little bit more. As I said, I've got shit tons of them. I just got to get off my ass and actually read them. I don't need to buy more books. I have got so many books that I have not read. I've got a shit ton of yarn and fibre I haven't spun. I don't have actually that much yarn and fibre. I would be very interested to clock how much I have. I do have a spreadsheet on that, but I'm thinking along the lines of because I create in spurts and I read in spurts. Like I can read 10, 15 books 1 month and then I won't read for another 3 months. And I do the same with knitting. I'll knit like 15 projects in like 3 months and then I won't touch it for the rest of the year. So I kind of got to reassess how much yarn I have and how much fibre I have and how much that will last me if I didn't buy any more. I know I'm going to buy more. I definitely have to buy more to finish some projects. So anyway, it's the same with books. My thing is with books is I've made a few mistakes in the last few years about purchasing books, and I don't have a lot of space here. I've only got this one bookshelf, and I've got some very specific books I want to get physical copies of, to have that I can read and reread. So what I'm trying to do is trying to say to myself on a regular basis, is it a book I'm going to notate a lot, reference a lot, and potentially reread a lot? If it's one of those three, or potentially two of those three, then it's a book I think a book I can justify purchasing. If it's a book I'm just going to read, enjoy, and then move on from, like a lot of fantasy and science fiction, I really need to start being more strict on whether or not I'm going to purchase a physical copy. I've put a lot of books out in the family library that I'd originally bought for my personal library, but I've done that because I've read them, I know what's in them, I want them available to the kids, so as they get older, there's books that they can just choose if they want to read it without me having to worry about what's in it. So, or having that conversation with them about what's in it. But in saying that, a couple of the books I have here that I've bought over the last 6 to 12 months, I think 6 to 12 months, most of the books I have not read have been purchased within 6 to 12 months. I almost got it down to like 6 months, and then I stopped reading for like three months. But this one is a recent release. It's called The Rain Seekers by Matthew Cressel, and it's only a little book. And I believe it's about a influencer who left everything on Earth and has moved to Mars and become a journalist. And now, as a journalist, she is part of a group that's trying to capture, I think she's a photographer? Yes, a photographer. And they're trying to capture the first rainfall on Mars. So they've been terraforming Mars, and this is like the journey to capture the first rainfall. And it just sounded really interesting when I heard about it. And this book has actually made me consider, as much as I really don't like the feel of it, but maybe potentially making my books non-glossy covers. Because it's so much easier to see, isn't it? Even such a small picture like that. But yeah. Another book I want to read soon is this one. This is The River Has Roots by Alma Al-Matar, who is one of the co-authors for This Is How You Lose the Time War, which I think was one of my favourite books a couple of years ago when I first read it. It was one of my favourite books for the year. And this is their first solo long form piece. I think they write short stories. I've actually got their most recent release as well, which is this one. Seasons of Glass and Iron, which I believe is a collection of essays and short stories. Or just stories. One of those, but yes, short form. So this is sort of a longer form one, solo. I do want to read this. And then the last thing I've got on my books I really want to get to, this one's going to take a while. This is Margaret Atwood's Paper Boat, New and Selected Poems. I am not a poem person. I wish I was a poem person. So my thought process was to get some poetry books from people I respect. I've got Margaret Atwood's. I've got a couple that I found at what's it called? Savers. They're sort of what I. This probably is going to be the book I'm least likely to like when it comes to poetry, because what I like in poems is I like long form stories in poems. So I like Odyssey and Iliad. I really like them as books, as poetry. I've got the sorry, I'm looking up at them. I'm trying to remember her name. Emily, is it Emily Wilson? The most recent translations of the Iliad and the Odyssey. I also have a version of the Odyssey that was translated by Robert Eagles because I want to compare them. And then I've got a couple of little books. I can't see the author's name, it's too high. But they're just like, I think they were originally like Wattpad or something, poetry, and they've done books on that. I thought that was interesting, so I thought I'd grab them. And then I have a recent version of Beowulf, Maria Davina Headley, I think it is. And I also have Beowulf translated by J.R.R. Tolkien. And I like comparing editions, but they're the type of poems I like, those sort of long form epic poems. And I really do enjoy the sagas, so the Icelandic sagas, which I have a huge, thick, chunky book about. I'm slowly reading them. They're not easy to read, so I just read a little bit at a time. But I want to sort of get more into reading stock standard poetry. So I thought, I respect Margaret Atwood's works. I got a lot of there. I got a lot of hers. I had tried to buy pretty much most of her back catalogue before I sort of made the decision to try to go ebook where I could. But I do think this is a book I'm going to want to annotate and make notes in and sort of write impressions so that I can come back to it in a couple of years' time and see how I feel and if I feel the same way of these poems. Because I really struggle with poetry. I struggle to get it. I always think I'm missing something. And that's, I think, why I like long form epic poetry, because it's a story. It's when it's like so obtuse. It's like you need someone to explain what it's about, just so you understand that it's about the sun rising. I get a little lost. But I also would really like to write some poetry as well. More epic saga style, but epic saga style. So I've got a book on the making of a poem. I've got a few more books in my wish list that are about how to write poems and how to break poems up. And I am very, very interested in story written in poetic form, and that is something I want to get better at. So the only way to do it is to read it. So yes, that's sort of the book situation. And I'm getting very tired. 10 o'clock. I'm not going to edit this tonight. I'm actually having trouble looking at the camera because I'm that tired. My eyes are a bit sore. Let me put these here. Make them a little bit neater. I don't think I'm going to get any reading done tonight. I plan to go to bed early and read, but 10 o'clock already. That ain't going to happen. Okay. Journaling. So, the reason I wanted to talk about journaling, I have not done my diary for this week yet. Fuck. Okay. That's this one is just my, like, I put notes in here for things I don't want to forget. This is like my purse. Not really needed. But this is my diary / journal. And I've got 4 books in here. I've got an undated monthly one. just a stock standard month. I've got, this one is an undated weekly. Oh, this one's getting close to being done. Set up. And it's got the thing I don't like in it, which is the Saturday and the Sunday are half the size. And considering most of my time is spent Saturday, Sunday doing things, I've just got a dot grid in here where I just wrote crappy notes and information, things I just don't want to, if I have an idea for one of my books, I just write it in here because I keep this on me, and this one stays in my, this goes in my handbag along with the knitting. And then I also have like another more long-term notes, one in the back. So it's not, the reason I'm just rushing through this because I realise what the time is. But what I want to talk about with this is I am seriously considering designing my own calendar book. So I was going to do it for this quarter, April, May, June. I didn't have time to do it. So I'm thinking I'm going to spend the next few months leading up to July putting together something that has a month, 4 or 5, maybe 5 weeks. It's hard because sometimes months have 5 weeks. 5 weeks of a week to a page, and the other side being notes or to-do lists or whatever. I haven't quite 100% figured out the design in my head. And then if I do 3 months in a book, that will only be 12 weeks plus the 12, at least 30 pages, which will, because I find it a bit difficult to flip between the month and the weekly book. But I can do tab system or something. I don't know. I'm thinking through it. As I said, I'm thinking through it as I go. But I also want to condense this a little bit because I really don't need 2 notebooks. So I don't need this notebook. See, because both these notebooks, like this one's got stuff in it that I wanted to keep long term, and then this has got stuff in it that I wanted, that I just thought of off the cuff. So I've just really just opened one of these notebooks and written it in wherever. They haven't quite worked out either, but what I want to do is I want to do one of those personal curriculums. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm quite interested in the Norse history, and something I'm really finding very interesting is because a lot of the Norse histories, Norse sagas were written down by Christian monks, there seems to be this huge gap of culture from the Norse that's just glossed over or not mentioned or not discussed, mainly women and women's roles. And when I'm reading it, I sort of get this feeling that there's something we're missing from the Norse culture that I think was more matriarchal than people realise. And things like, it's the women that stayed home and looked after the farms and looked after the estates and built things. And there's even talking about the line of succession for the kings, there's this sort of hint that the woman's bloodline is just as important in areas, but it's then been obscured by this Christian outlook. And I just find it interesting that as I'm reading through the sagas, I'm just sort of highlighting little things that sort of, when they're talking about a hero and they sort of dismiss the father's side, but then they talk like 3 generations back on the woman's side. And it's like, that wouldn't happen in a patriarchal society, that kind of lineage-based stuff. So I just feel that there's stuff we're missing, and I do believe there's been some recent genetic research stating that a lot of the Norse kings that they thought were men are actually Norse queens. And the same's happened over in Japan, where a lot of the samurai, about 50% of the samurai bones that they've done genetic testing on, has worked out that they were female. So I do think there's this hidden history that we are not, that we don't see because of the way our society is now. And it's not just that, like, every time you read a book, I kind of want to do sort of a very free form style of like personal curriculum where I'll read a book and I might find 3 or 4 books mentioned in that book that interest me, and then I will move on and read one of those. And that's sort of the way I want to do it. But what I want to do is I want to have a notebook in here that I can write things in about that, just that specific subject. I was thinking of doing it on my Onyx, but as I said, a lot of the books, a lot of the history books I have, and a lot of the granular books I have in this subject are actually on my Onyx. So they're ebooks. So I don't want to be flipping on that. I want to just use that to read and have something next to me to write on. But yes, I'm sort of rushing because I'm getting tired, but that's what I wanted to talk about with this. Is I just sort of want to fiddle around with this a little bit, make this work a little bit better for me, and then hopefully in the meantime learn something new. So I'm going to call it. It's been a long chat. I'm going to finish my coffee, have a shower, and go to bed. Yes, I need a coffee to go to sleep these days. But yes, so thank you for being with me, coming along for this very interesting ride. I am hoping to do this kind of maybe once a month, not as long as this, but I do feel that this kind of podcast style is what's going to suit my current lifestyle for a little while, as much as I really do enjoy doing vlogs. This is just going to be easier, and I can sort of get everything together, ramble for a couple of hours, and then spend the next 2 or 3 days editing it down. So on that note, thank you for bearing with me. I hope you've enjoyed your time. Let me know down in the comments, did you knit on something whilst I was rambling? Do you have a current topic of interest that you're interested in learning more about? And I would say like, comment, and subscribe, but we're all adults here. Do whatever the fuck you want. And I shall see you soon. Bye.